Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? It is Saturday morning. It's a beautiful morning. Monte Azul Seymour Cruz, Juan Tragapeta, Senior 40F492-11 will be joining us soon. You know, most of y'all didn't know that his real name is Juan Tragapeta, but I guess when you're close with somebody and you're left alone in the room on a Saturday morning, doesn't matter. Well, let me tell you, it's a beautiful day. I'm out here in this hot country. It's about to be 100 degrees for like 10 days straight. We've had our fair share of rain. Now we're getting overdosed on humidity, sun, death-defying heat. But I started the day. I woke up early. I let my chickens, ducks, and goose out, and we sat by the pond. If you follow me on TikTok, you'll see me. I'll be uploading the video. We've been here for a little while, and these turtles don't come by us. They don't come by us at all. They run. But I've been every morning. I've been going up there throwing food on the pond, and so finally, one of the turtles decided to show us how to eat food with us. It's just so peaceful. It sounds silly, but it's quiet time. It's me time. It's nature. Just giving back to the pond. Appreciate it. So anyway, today I got a really, I think, substantive topic and discussion we're going to have. We're going to talk about men. Masculinity. We're going to piggyback that off of last week's conversation when we discussed relationships. And so now we're zeroing relationships when it comes to the way that men have relationships. And since we're talking about formers, we're going to also talk about what that looks like when we're in the system, when we're locked up in prison. How we behave versus how we might want to think about behaving, and what we need to do when we get out and we realize the program of change and recovery that perhaps we might have trampled other people, and might still be trampling people. In particular, our partners, significant others, love, our children, our family, each other. And we're going to try to talk about clean that up, man, and what we have to come up with as men, as we think our way through some of these battles that we know within ourselves. And so as soon as Big Dog gets back, we will be starting the show. Now, I'm not sure. I don't see the dashboard. I don't know when you're looking here to Masbretto studio. I'm not quite sure if anyone's in the what you call it, chat room. If you are, good morning. You can join us. You can open up Facebook, because that might allow me to see who's doing this, because we do this through the platform called. Man, I get all these on my Facebook page. And I don't know about you. I was separated in 2012, and I was going through it, right? On my way to divorcing, full-time dad, 50% dad. Devastating. I'm looking at all these things. The mentality I was trying to use when it came to just bearing through it. And I'm proud of myself, man. While I struggled, I tried to keep it positive, to just try to
Samuel,
to stay focused.
hey bro,
Welcome back. What's up?
your microphone is messing up really bad. You got a lot of feedback and you're robotic.
Oh, maybe it's because I opened one on Facebook.
All right, that sounded weird.
Yeah, I'm just tapping. Yeah, I'm just tapping the mic. I'm trying to see how I check my settings here.
And you got a reverb going on.
Maybe my microphone's not close enough to me. Is that better?
Ooh, no.
No, I don't hear it. I can't hear it. Let me turn on my Facebook so I can see what you're talking about.
I thought it was my computer at first.
Maybe I gotta log off and log back on.
Posible.
All right, I'm gonna jump off and then try to jump back on.
All right, I'll be here. All right, you guys. Sammy's gonna quick step out and come back. I apologize in advance. I've been extremely sick this last week, and so has Mateo. In fact, we had to take Mateo into the ER last night to get him checked. So we do not have COVID. We don't have the flu. We tested negative for both. We don't have strep. They said it's some type of virus. So I was good for like a day. It was almost like COVID where I was really sick and then I started feeling better. And then last night it just got worse. Mateo ended up in the ER. He's okay. But yeah, so I've been struggling a little, trying to get better. Sammy will be right back. He's having some microphone issues. Last week we spoke about, sorry, I'm getting the feed out there while we go, you guys. Last week we talked about relationships, and Sammy wanted to talk today about masculinity and toxic masculinity as well. Not just toxic, right? Like we think of masculinity and we almost think of it as a four-letter word, right? It's almost a bad thing. Here he is. Let me pop him back in here. I just want you guys to know there is a difference between masculinity and toxic masculinity. Hey, Sammy, go ahead, try your mic.
A, B, C, D,
Bangin'.
E, F,
Bangin'.
G. I love
I thought my computer was messed up.
It probably was. I don't know.
Man, you're messed up. Whatever, bro.
I'm just saying.
So good morning, everybody. Again, rehash real quick with Sammy on. We're talking about masculinity, toxic and otherwise. Like I think a lot of people get messed up when they hear the word. All masculinity isn't toxic, and there is some good and bad to all forms. And so we're going to talk about it today and how it affects our recovery and our lives and our children's lives as fathers and brothers and sons. And so, Sammy, how you doing this morning now that I can hear you?
I'm doing great, man. I started out with a little bit of, meditative quiet. I was talking to the group before I guess my microphone must have been blowing up. But I, got up early, went outside, let the birds out. We sat by the pond. I've been throwing food out every morning, but nothing ever comes and eats. But this morning, and the turtles, they disappear when we're like 50 to 75 yards away. They don't even let us. They don't even let us approach. But this morning, a turtle came and ate. I think it was like a box turtle or a painted turtle. It was a beautiful turtle, but he came and ate right up by the shore, by where I sit, and so it's starting to make a little progress there. And I was just thinking, I was just grateful. I was like, thank you. I'm starting to make peace with those little guys, man.
Heck yeah.
It's cool, and the birds, the goose and the ducks follow me, and then eventually the chicken. So eventually I got all the animals sitting on the edge of the pond. It's like a petting zoo out there, man. It's really good. It's kind of interesting.
That's a beautiful thing, man. I'm so happy for you down there, bro. I know you guys are loving your life and loving your oh, morning, Aunt Chris. Morning, Linda. We got some regulars here.
All right.
Definitely glad to see you guys. I am sitting outside. I'm trying to get this virtual background to shut off, so because I'm sitting out in the trees right now. I can't figure it out though. Oh wait, hold on. There it is. Hold on. We'll show you my backyard. Bam. My backyard's rather large. I've been sick so long and stuck in the house, besides the other day when I fixed those hub bearings for Alicia, that I just had to get out this morning. Everyone was asleep. I figured, sick or not, I'm going to sit in the backyard and get some fresh air and some sunshine, have a cup of coffee.
Oh, yeah.
So we're talking about masculinity. Well, last week, let's rehash. Last week we talked about relationships and how they affect our recovery and the things that we do while we're in them. It was actually a good call. I learned some. It was a good show. I learned some stuff about myself that I hadn't even really thought of. You know what I mean? For me, it had been just, I'm single, I'm honest, I'm open, and let's go. And I never thought about the damage I could have done to others with some of the stuff that I did. And so that it was actually kind of hard for me, right? Like having to see that you're possibly damaging other people as well as yourself. But
Just
I like
know
that.
Just know that though.
Oh, you're bad again.
Am I?
Yeah.
What's going on? How's that?
Move the wire a little bit. You might not be connected totally.
Yeah, let me check it out because I had to unplug my laptop. So maybe.
Yeah, you got feedback pretty bad.
How about now? Still? All right, I'm going to turn off the mic. I'm going to see if I can just use my back for now.
Okay.
Let me see how I do that.
Sorry, guys. Is anybody else getting the feedback that I'm hearing from Sammy, the robotic sounds? Just go ahead and give me a thumbs up in chat if you are, or just a little shout out saying you can hear it as well.
All right, I turned it off. Is that better? It's just
No.
Should be my MacBook Pro. Let me see.
Yeah, Linda's hearing it too.
All right. How about now?
Perfect. You sound great.
All right, I'm on my laptop instead of my microphone.
Okay. So let's talk about masculinity.
Well, what I was going to tell you before we can do it as a part of that is it's a thin line between humility and humiliation.
Morning, Amy.
And I want to just point out, good morning, everyone. I want to point out that the only difference between feeling humiliated and feeling humbled is the degree to which we manage our egos, right? We've all had discussions with people when we say, hey, you might have a problem. There might be something going on that you need to take a look at, right? Or however we say it, we try to do it the best way we can, right? Let's say we ace the delivery on letting somebody know that something's up. One person might be like, man, guys, I really need to hear that. The exact same message delivered to someone else, or even the same person at a different point in his life might be, man, fuck you. Who are you to tell me? And the only difference is not the delivery matters, but that's not what's deciding this on this thing. It's where we're at in life with ourselves. And it could slightly depend on the relationship, depending on who's telling you, but still, I've gotten feedback from, I've been in an audience and people have said something in that audience that I didn't agree with, but I still managed it well. I tried to look at it. So just remember that as we all continue to develop, when you discover things about yourself that don't necessarily come from shedding a good light, let it humble you. Like it ain't a source of embarrassment. It ain't a source of humiliation, and even if that was their intention, that doesn't have to be how you receive it. You know what I mean? So we all have to hear it, man. We all have to hear it. I talked about how my girls were like, how dare you keep your medical, and what I want to be is like, I'm the man, I'm the dad. you shut up, stupid. What I did was like, no, you're right, girls. you know. That's it, you know. So it's never for us to feel like we've been put down, especially when the relationship is there, and it's more or less like, okay, one, I know who's saying this, I know where it's coming from, I know what the intentions are. Let me take a peek and see what I can do to improve this, you know.
Yeah. My migraine had gotten to a point where it was just ridiculous. And I'm laying on the bed and I'm just falling apart. And Lizzie goes, well, did you take the medicine that you got? And I was like, no. And she was like, why not? I was like, because I'm a fucking man. Well, medicine? What do you mean? Right? Like, I can do this, dude. I can do that. And she just looks at me like I'm an absolute idiot, right? And I'm like,
that reminds me. Me and Julie were watching this TikTok yesterday, and it was about a bear that was following this guy. And the guy was backing up, and you could tell he had a can of bear spray, but he was trying not to spray the bear. And the bear just kept like following dude, right? And charging trees and running up the tree that's right next to the guy, right? And
yeah.
Eventually the guy sprayed a little bit and the bear ran off. And I said, I said, Julie, you know, we're out here. There was just a bear spotted 20 minutes from us.
Yeah.
We probably need to get some bear spray. And she said, does that work? And I'm like, well, what would you like to fight the bear with?
Right. But anything's better than nothing, right? Like,
that's my point exactly.
Right. Like, shit. I get it regularly though, because you know, we grew up different, man. We grew up in a world where you didn't cry, where you didn't show empathy or emotion. Sen Tater, hey, Amy, you're dead right, because as sick as he was, like, he went to the ER, he did everything he had to do. Lizzie stopped at Dairy Queen and brought back ice cream because he was so good to go, because he didn't want to go to the doctor. Like, Mateo's already toxic as shit masculinity wise, like, no go doctor. I'm like, you gotta go to the doctor, bro. No go. And so he was good. He agreed to go. He got ice cream, and so we gave him a reward, and he brought ice cream home for the whole family, right? He brought the girls and me as well. And he come running into the room and puts his hands out and he goes, I got ice cream. And I'm like, okay. Like, cool shit, bro. You got ice cream. Yeah, that dude's a gangster, man. Like, that kid is tough. Like, as down as he is, he was like, I go outside and play. I'm like, dude, you just threw up everywhere. You can barely walk. You're crawling down the hallway and you want to go outside and play. No, come to bed. Like, let's lay back down. Right? But, dude, yeah. I see it in a lot of the things. You know, I grew up and we didn't do those things, man. We were men. Like,
well, I think it goes a step further, right? Like, let's unpack that a little bit, because that's a good place to start, which is the socialization. Now, and we get socialized in every single place we are, men and women alike. No one gets away from socialization, right? And we have to, I don't think we're preaching to the choir here, but we all have to agree at some point that because we're human and our brains work essentially very similar in fashion, we have to recognize that we have bias, we have prejudice, we have all these things and beliefs that we've essentially inherited. Like, I didn't come up with the fact that I was raised Catholic. I didn't imagine, I didn't choose that. I followed that for a long time. You know, I never was taught to question the belief that I had inherited. It was just assumed, you know, my brain just accepted the teachings from my family. Like, most of us are probably the political party that our families were. And if you're not, how old were you when you realized you didn't have to be that and have to think that and have to follow that, right?
Right.
And when you think about your gang affiliation and my gang affiliation, it's where my egg hatched. You know, it's like, if my egg would hatch in China, I would have been a Chinese gangster mobster boss, right?
Right.
It had nothing to do with choice. It was, this is what's in my environment and I absorb it, right? And it wasn't until later in my life that I realized there were options, because a lot of the information that I received was it seemed like it was delivered like that was the only thing to believe. You know, I was telling this guy, I met with one of the powerhouses of St. Louis this past week, man, and I was telling him that I spent, after the race riot when I was 17 and I survived that race riot in Menard, I spent 2.5 years in the same cell in administrative segregation. And on my right was a Latin king. His name was Little Leo. And Leo was this short little Mexican dude. He had Napoleon complex like a mofo. You know, he was what he and I were, I guess you could both say we were both send-offs. Leo had a few years to do. He ended up killing somebody, and now he's doing the rest of his life, you know, in prison. You know, I'm over there. I only have a short time. I'm in a max prison, just survived a race riot. It looks like I'm gonna die. This dude just said we're fat uncles. All right, Jim Bob.
Fucking Jim Bob. What's up,
All right.
nephew?
You're about to get fucked up. So anyway, listen. So me and Leo hate each other. We hate each other simply because of the game. Now, we just survived a race riot together, but now that all of that is outside the cell, while we're in the cell, me and him are basically every day for 9 months. Fuck you. No, fuck you. You know, we fought for 9 months like this, dude. It was the worst type of bickering. People would just tell us to shut the fuck up. They were so tired of hearing us cuss each other out on the regular, right? And one day, 9 months into this, right? It's like Archie Bunkers, two Archie Bunkers living next to each other, won't back down. 9 months into it, Leo took his mirror and you know how you stick your arm out and you tap on the stick it out like over here, like tapping, knocking on my door, you know, and he ain't never knocked on my. I'm like, what the fuck you want, Leo? You know, your bitch ass what?
Right.
Dude whispered. He whispered, "Why do you hate me?" Like 9 months into this, why do you hate me? I'm like, because you hate me. Dude, we did this for like 2 more weeks. Every time, we were just young and dumb, right? I'm 17 years old fighting with another 17-year-old in a maximum security prison in the hall, right? Like, we have better than you, man. And truth be told, man, we got past that. Me and Leo became best friends. And we started asking questions like, how did you become a king? Well, how did you become a D? Right? And we started finding out that we had a lot in common. Right? And he had been beaten, abused as a child, hit the streets really young, came to prison with a short bit, now doing a long bit, you know. Now, the reason I told this story, because there were those beliefs that we had about each other, and I cannot tell you where they came from other than what I was told by others. When I joined my gang, I had to inherit all their beliefs, all their fears, and all their hatred in order to be a part of that. Right? Like it had the hardest lie to weed through is a lie that has a little bit of truth. But Monte, you can't and I can't, and neither can my jefes and neither can your jefes tell you the original sin committed by the other person.
No.
Right? It's just like it just came out of nowhere and we decided to believe it.
Yeah.
And we all got stories. We go, oh no, I can tell you it was when this happened.
What started that?
There was something before that, and before it go, and eventually this riot that we experienced, we were told was a race riot, that it was a black and white thing, and and we were going to have to fight the white supremacists. And you know what it turned out to be? A white guy had broken the rules. A white supremacist had broken the rules and had borrowed a black guy a carton of cigarettes. Now, you weren't supposed to borrow outside of your group or race.
Yep.
You have stores for that, and that's to prevent shit like this from happening. Well, the black guy basically told the white guy, get paid. White guy goes over there. They get into it. He stabs the shit out the black guy and kills him. What were we told? That in honor of Hitler's birthday, this white supremacist went over there and killed this black guy.
For no reason.
For no reason, but only than because he's black.
Yep.
And now not only did our prison go off, like the whole prison fought. It was a complete race riot, and it ended up traveling statewide. People in Pontiac, Stateville, and certainly all the mediums, all guards and white folks, white supremacists started getting stabbed up over a lie.
Yeah.
And even when we discovered it was a lie,
couldn't stop.
We wouldn't change the narrative. This was only about race and only about hatred, and it was time for us to stand up. Nobody said, damn, we fucked up. We didn't have all the facts when we just had to go down that path. And you know what, dude? That war lasted 2 years. 2 years. And so anyway, talk about toxic masculinity. I can never admit that I'm wrong. Right? And I can never question what comes down the pipeline. And if you do, what's going to happen? Right? So you can't ask questions. You have to have blind loyalty, blind faith. You have to more or less be willing to risk it all for what you are saying is a worthy cause.
Right.
Now, fast forward 2.5 years. I get transferred to Stateville. And in Stateville, it's where all the Jefes from the Chicago gang environment are. I mean, your Jefes, my Jefes, everybody's Jefes are in Stateville. And what I saw in Stateville was drastically and dramatically different than what I saw in the other prisons. My own cousin had to break the arm of one of his own cousins for drug use, using cocaine. And they charged him with that. The guys charged him with that. The fellas charged him with that. And the order came down that his violation was going to be a broken arm.
Yeah.
And so my cousin put his own cousin's arm through the bars and broke his arm.
Mm-hmm.
When I got to Stateville, guess who was doing cocaine? Guess who was doing heroin? Guess who was sleeping with men? Guess who was breaking every rule that they were having everyone else violated for throughout the state? And then I found out there is an exception for sleeping with men, and it's if you have a 25-year sentence or more and you're 25 years or older. No one ever told anybody else that.
Right.
But they had given themselves an exception on why they could get away with it and still be seen as not breaking or violating the rule that they were holding. I saw all of this contradiction, and I tried to talk to my prince about it. He shut it down immediately. He was like, don't go there. You know, and that was basically a pass.
Yeah.
Right. And the only reason I got a pass is because we were close. We were close. If it had been anybody else, they probably would have got moved on.
Yeah.
You know? So fast forward to being a dad of girls.
Not an easy task, bro. That's worse than banging.
Hey, it's not an easy transition.
No.
Right? You walk out of prison and all of a sudden you're a dad. That's the transition.
Yeah. I was gone 18 years. I was home less than a year and a half, and all of a sudden I got a little girl that I'm responsible for. Like,
Look, there are a lot of ladies listening, and your cousin Jim Bob or your nephew Jim Bob.
Yeah,
Is that weird or what? You like think of
man.
the things, right? Like that you're in the joint, you've just done all this gang shit. You've been
For 20 years.
fighting for your life, killing everybody else. Like then you got to come home and you got to learn real quick how to talk to a female, how to treat a female, how to raise a daughter, how to raise a son, how to have a dog, how to fucking raise a dog, or how to drive a car, answer a
How to
cell
pay rent, lights, gas, have enough for food, have enough for vehicle insurance, have enough for. I didn't know how to do any of that. And now I'm raising a kid on top of it by
How
myself.
long did it take you to realize that a supervisor at work was not a PO or a CO?
Oh my God, bro. No doubt. No doubt. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Time, and I'm not even exaggerating. How many times did you imagine killing somebody because they got on your nerves? Right? Like, how many times did you say, if we were in the joint, if we were in the streets, if we were anywhere else,
Do you know what this would be?
Yeah.
Listen,
We're walking out here trying to assimilate with a mentality like that.
one of my now closest friends, Eric, we called him Ponytail back then. He worked with me at Toppers, and it was fresh. I had just got out like 4 or 5 months before that, right? This was my first job after coming home. And the general manager, Dave Berry, him and I, he took a chance on me. He convinced the owner. He was like, listen, I know he's a violent felon. I know he's got a crazy history, but I kind of believe in this dude. Let's give it a shot. He's, we're bonded and insured anyways. He can't do anything horrible. So we're working, and I'm inside, and Eric comes in, and he just says something that was condescending. It wasn't disrespectful. The way he said it was just condescending as shit.
Condescending is disrespectful.
And I turned and I said, what the fuck did you just say? And Dave, his head looks at me, he doesn't react, but he kind of just looks over at me and squints a little, and I can see him because when you're in that mode, you become hypervigilant, right? Who's around me? What's around me? Who's paying attention? So I said, what the fuck did you just say to me? And he giggled and was like, you heard me. And to him, he was just bantering. To me, I'm about to kill him, right? I said, you want to go the fuck outside and talk to me about? I got quieter, right? Because, I wasn't a loud jacker in the joint. Like, you got those guys who, they run their mouths and they get as loud as they can so the guards will come and stop things. I got quieter. And I was like, you want to go outside and talk about this? And him not understanding the situation, right? He has no social, understanding whatsoever of what's about to happen. Like, we've had long discussions about it. He was like, oh, okay. And I turned to go, and Dave Berry put his hand on my shoulder and said, Monty, make pizzas. And I looked, and my first thought was, because I barely know this dude, my boss, I was like, if he doesn't take his hand off me, I'm going to plant him where he stands, right? And then I seen he had absolute concern for me. It wasn't Ponytail he was worried about. You could see in his face that he was concerned for me. He was ignoring Pony. And then he turned to Pony and said, I think it would be best if you left for a few minutes. And later on, we talked about it, and he was like, dude, you were serious? Like, he was taken aback. But yeah, my thought was, I'm going to go outside. I'm going to mop this dude. I got 40 grand in the bank. I'm going to hop in my car. I'm going to hit it. I'll be gone. They won't catch me. He'll be dead. Like, how dare he speak to me in that manner? Like, man, and shortly thereafter, I'm a dad, and Kelly and I split, and she has to go. And, our situation was pretty bad. I was a single dad. I had a 2-month-old little girl, and she would cry, and I'd be like, fix it. What's going on here, right? You know what I mean? How do I teach her to be a little girl? How do I teach her to do anything? I'm a fucking idiot. I'm a dude. I don't know. Like, smash, fix, right? Smash, All right, start over. Smash. Like those are my understandings. Oh, he disrespected you, kill him. All right. He cuts you off in traffic, bash that fucker's skull until he can't fucking see no more drive. Those are the thought process that go through my head at that time. Like it's just an immediate reaction. Now, fast forward almost 10 years, I still deal with those thoughts at times, much less often, right? Now it's like, all right, maybe dude's an idiot, or maybe he's having a bad day, or maybe there's something going on in his life. Like, let me move around. That doesn't mean I don't have that flash thought in the beginning, right? Like, if somebody does something to me, the instantaneous thought is, fuck are you talking to? Do you know who I am? Do you know what I'll do to you? And then it goes away, right? It takes a few seconds, and it's like, all right, man, first off, it ain't worth killing you. Like, I got kids at home that depend on Dada, and, I like the abuse. I don't know. I have responsibilities, and maybe he's just having a really shitty day. Like,
we've been to that's how we are, right? That's how it got refined. But having been out here for a long time now, there's a lot of men who are conditioned to be that way who have not been to the joint, and this is how we know that it's a societal issue, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's important for men to be talking about this issue right now, especially for those of us in recovery and a change process, because we have to recognize whether we've been to the joint or not, man, we've been trampling over our women, our children, our pets, each other, our coworkers, and we typically try to do that in very toxic ways, right? There's something called fatal peril, which is this concept that when we are offended or we feel threatened or frightened, we consider each of those encounters a fatal peril moment, something that is deadly dangerous, right? So, for example, you're hanging on a cliff on the bottom of the cliff, hanging on by your fingernails. You're 500 feet in the air, and there's a boulder rolling down in your direction, like a fatal peril moment, right? There's no escape. There's no matter what happens here, you're about to die. You're either going to fall or get smashed by this boulder. We imagine all those situations, like the one you just described, the toppers, when our kids talk back, when our girls stand up for themselves, we perceive it all as something we need to overwhelm with aggression. Now, here's where the socialization comes in that I think we've got to start to balance. We are basically taught that in order to be masculine in this world, you have to be aggressive. And if you're not aggressive, you are feminine in nature. And then we go around humiliating and shaming each other for being aggressive or aggressive enough. Mm-hmm. Think of most of the ways that we humiliate other men when we want to talk about them not being aggressive. We typically refer to them
as a bitch, a punk,
as feminine traits and characteristics in nature.
Yep.
And then here's the paradox. The only way for that person to regain masculine enough is by being aggressive or violent. So they have to go out and they have to be aggressive and violent and reestablish, the tone among their peers, right? And remember, the word enough is tricky because you can never be only as aggressive as you were yesterday. Because now that's outdated. Now someone comes along and tries to out thug you, and so it's not enough to get even, is it?
No, you gotta make that shit be known.
Now you got to get one up at least. Right now, it's not and so it's this constant cycle of aggression and masculinity to reestablish identity. And when your identity is wrapped up in primarily aggression and violence, you're not sure how to navigate the world where everyone is telling you to be vulnerable, where everyone is telling you to open up and to trust. And those two messages don't match. And here's why I think our addictions are primordial and reptilian, and probably even harder to get over than most substances, I would say, is because that type of socialization predates the use of drugs, predates the use of alcohol, predates the ability to fight. It's almost from the beginning.
And that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to say, so do we see that as societal, or do we see that as instinctual? Because since the beginning of time, men, males have been judged based on their ability to protect, kill, and hunt, right? So, that those traits have been there for millennia, right? They've been there forever. How do we overcome that?
Well,
and our society, and listen, not only has it been since the beginning of time, our society has played that role since its inception, right? What a real man is, what it means to be an American, right? Especially for men, what makes you a good American man? Guns, God, and killing, things that, right?
Racism, things like that.
Right.
But here's to add to what you're saying. The tricky part of this is that, listen, aggression has its place in the world. I was telling that story about that bear walking up on that guy. I mean, you might have to fight, right? I think we lost your sound. You might have to fight, or you might have to defend your family or yourself one day, right? You might be cornered. Aggression and violence is one thing, but when we use that aggression and violence on people, like our women, our children, innocent people, or as the coping mechanism for addressing issues and problems that otherwise should be solved in different ways, right? What we have done with men, I think, before we get there, so let's pin that for a second. The problem with referring to men as feminine in nature when they are not aggressive or violent enough is that we are inherently also teaching that women are second-class citizens.
Yep.
Because if the worst thing that a man can be is a woman, what does that say about our view of women? And how does that influence the way we have relationships with them?
Yep.
Right. We're not referring to these men as, a rabbit or a donkey, or we're referring to them as women in essence. And we're using that terminology, like Linda said, being soft or a bitch. Those are typically ways that men view women, right? And so
y'all don't even want my feminine aggression.
I'm actually going to talk about feminine aggression in a second, because in many ways, I would say that what I have noticed, taking a little segue here, there were two women that are known for kind of stepping into masculine traits publicly. One was Madonna, and the other one was, I want to say it was Little Kim or Trina. I can't remember for sure. Way back in the days when they were referring to themselves as pimps, right? They were taking on traditional male roles or grabbing their private parts as if they had a penis, right? The term for that is emasculation. And here's what I think happened. Our victims, and a similar thing happened to me. When I was small, my mom was beating the crap out of me. At some point, my brain said, well, I see my mom as strong and in charge. I also see that she's never beat up. Let me emulate my mom, right? And so here I was among men trying to live up to the strength that I thought my mom had, right? And I think women are tired of being beat up and abused in DV situations, that they have often been pushed to the point where they themselves have to be violent. Now, here's an interesting factoid about this dynamic. In the 70s in Minnesota, the first domestic violence shelter was created for women to go to. Ever since we've had shelters for women to go to, murder by women of men fell by 50%. The research suggests that when women have an option, they will take another option other than murder. The murder rate by men of women has never dropped, even with these shelters, right? It was not impacted by that. But and so what we know is that violence is not normal. It's normal today, but it's not a normal reaction. It's a part of how we're socialized to interact in the world. And so I think a lot of, and this is me not trying to be sexist or anything. This is just what I've come to understand the world. I think a lot of women have had to do things like be violent, be aggressive in order to protect themselves from violent, aggressive men. And sometimes, and there's a Chinese or a proverb out there that says, beware of the mask that you put on, for you may forget how to take it off. Right. And that's me and you, Mo, to a T. We became violent. We became aggressive, but I can promise you, I still remember when the only fucking thing I wanted to do was play. I wanted to ride a bike. I wanted to run down the street with no socks on and no shoes on on the rock. I wanted to catch turtles. I wanted to climb trees. I was looking for lizards, two-headed snakes, watching it rain frogs in Texas. Like, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be outside in the creek. I wasn't imagining. The first job I remember saying I wanted to be when I grew up was Evel Knievel.
Me too, bro. I had the little motorcycle. Yeah. Yep.
I wanted to be. I mean, that's what I grew up wanted to be. I never once said I'm going to be a gang leader.
Right. Right. Yep. No, I remember. I wanted to be Evel Knievel or an air. What was his name? The pilot. He had went to the moon too.
Armstrong?
Yeah. I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to fly. I wanted to go to the Air Force, right? I remember dreaming. I used to draw schematics of planes from my head, right? Like I would draw these new designs that, I was convinced would become planes one day. Yeah, that shit didn't last though, bro. It's funny what you were saying about women. I just watched a TikTok not long ago. I think I sent it to you, and it was a guy, and they were talking about why women are wary and afraid of men in general. And he had talked about gun safety. He says, what is the first thing you're taught in hunter safety and gun safety? Treat every gun as if it's loaded and deadly, right? And he had talked at length about that. And then he said, what do you think women do with men? They've been hurt. They've been violent. They've seen it. Like they continuously hear about the abuse. So even though you haven't hurt her, even though you haven't done this to another human being, she has to treat you as if you're loaded to protect herself, even in stranger encounters on the streets, right? Like you might be a perfectly nice young man who says, hi, how you doing? And you aren't trying to be, angry or mean or sexual or in any way. And she ignores you and you're like, dude, I'm not him, right? But she doesn't know that, right? Like, and women have to
thing, right?
Right. Like my daughters, like I have to teach them that, right? Like I have to teach them to be prepared, right? Like, but let's be honest, we can trust some people, but they have to earn that from us, right? Like my daughters, Danica, you already know Danica, she'll be your best friend 2 seconds after meeting you. Oh, you want to go on a ride? Okay. Right? Oh, you got a puppy in the back and a piece of candy? Well, hell, my name's Danica. Danica Rosemarie Cruz. We're best friends now. I know you. We can go.
With that little Mexican girl who does the big head things, and her dad's always like, what do you do if a stranger talks to you? And the little girl's like, go with them, talk to him. He's like, no. He came, and when her TikTok, she came back to dad. Some guy tried to give me a candy bar. To get in his van, he's like, what did you do? And she picks up her shirt. She's got candy bars stuck all
Yeah, like, dude, it's hard, man. And I do my best. I got lucky growing up in a house full of women, right? Like, listen, it toughened me up. Like I'm tougher than most of the guys I knew who had all brothers, right? Like I understand what it means. Like I got a thick skin. It's hard to get under my skin. I remember every mean thing my sisters ever said to me, right? Like, and they were mean, bro. Like my sisters could get it in, right? Like there was no stopping it when it came to like talking shit to each other. And I'm lucky, you know. My aggression and my violence has never been turned towards women's. Like you can't look in my past and find a woman who says I punched her in the mouth, right, or smacked the crap out of her. The most I've ever done was, you know, stop them from beating me up by holding them down, you know, and crossing their arms and then running as fast as I could. Like even Kelly will tell you, during the worst part of our relationships, when she was beating my ass, right? The worst thing I ever did to her was slam on the brakes when she wasn't wearing a seatbelt and she was fucking me up down the road. Like I hit the brakes as hard as I could. Her face hit the windshield. I hit the gas. She hit the back. I hit the brake. She hit the windshield. I opened the door, shoved her in a snow pile and said, I'm gone. Right? Like I was bleeding from the face. She had fucked me up. Right? Like Kelly will tell you that was the worst encounter of our relationship for me being, you know, aggressive or violent. And I just wanted to live. Right? I remember thinking in that instance, we're going to die. I'm doing 60 and she's beating my ass, right? Like I'm driving and I'm getting hit, punched, scratched, eye poked, right? She's in a rage, right? Brake, face, right? Dude, it was like a cartoon. Her face hit the windshield. I hit the gas. She flew back. I hit the brake. Her face hit the windshield. I opened the door, shoved her into a snow pile, and I ran away, right? But during that encounter, you remembered those times. Like I was terrified of even telling you. I was so ashamed. I was so low in my self-esteem about that situation. Like I'm getting beat up by a little girl. Like I could slap her to death. I could punch her and break her neck. And I couldn't protect myself, right? I couldn't even figure out why I was getting beat up sometimes. I would just walk in the door and it would be over with, right? Like, I didn't understand. And I was too terrified to openly talk to anybody about it because I was a man. Like, I was a man. Women don't beat men. Men beat women. Right? And now, let's be honest, bro. Kelly had been through some horrifying events in her life that scarred her and traumatized her and helped create what she became, right? I'm not giving her an excuse, right? I'm not giving her a pass, but I'm definitely going to have leniency in how I view our past, right? Like she was hurt. She was fucked up. She needed help, you know, but it's hard, bro.
You know, I think what's interesting to have empathy and to try to understand why somebody behaves the way they do is not giving them a pass. That understanding will lead to direct behavior on our side, which in your case was separation, right? All you could do is separate. It's why I left my marriage, right? It was too much. And I needed, in order to maintain, you know, I think one of the things that I was watching the Johnny Depp trial, Johnny in one of his videos, I had to give up myself to, and I think a lot of us on both sides, men and women, do that, and that's a part of the toxicity response, right? Is that a lot of times we're trying to fix situations that just can't be fixed by normal means. You know, there is no compromise when it comes to the violence and the abuse, right? There's either abuse or there isn't. There's no gray area, and there's whether we accept it or not. I think a part of what you're recognizing, and we're only got like 13 minutes left, but I think I want to switch to what you were just talking about was what we have to do with those feelings, those thoughts, those reactions, right? Because to be honest, I think we need more feminine traits in the masculine identity, because what we see and typically call feminine traits are human traits.
Yeah.
They're not only subscribed to women. They're not only natural and inherent to women. Crying is not a trait. We've assigned it to that, but that's a mislabeling. We all cry. We all have fear. We all have trauma. You know, only some of us get to a point where we can be transparent about that. We spent our whole lives up until this point trying to hide the fact that we're basically humans. right? That we're just a person. I'm not Batman, you're not. But we have these images of what we think strength looks like, what we think authority looks like, what we think power, privilege looks like.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I think men are just as capable of those deep emotions as anyone else. And we have to be able to talk about those things, right? Like, I know I've come to you with my pain and my suffering, and you've done the same. And like I had done something wrong, but in the past I would have certainly felt that way. And if I had come to you at a certain time in your life, you might have been like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?"
Right, man up, punk. Right.
Take it off, right? Like when you get the new John letter in the joint, you got to pretend like it don't hurt your feelings, and you give it to somebody else, and but deep down inside, you're hurting, you're crushed, you're like, what is this about? And now, going back to what we said, we're raising daughters, and you're raising a son. We realize, man, there's nothing in our past that prepared us for this.
No.
And more than likely from the women around us. How to be more considerate, calmer. I got into it with Salinas the other day, and Julie was in there mediating. She was like, "Look, there's a better way."
Yeah.
And it's not what I wanted to hear at the time, but
right.
I'm taking a time out. Cause worked out, right?
Right.
And then 5 minutes later the feeling passed, and I felt calmer, and all I could really recognize is that she's right. I think a lot of us in recovery from the women around us. A lot of us women have maintained the status of all the traits that we need to embody as men. Right?
Hey, hold that thought for 1 second. Pin that. Jim Bob, did you know that originally only men painted their nails and it was a symbol of royalty? That was passed over to women as it went through. But yeah, nail painting, that explains why he acts like a girl and nails are painted, LOL. Nail painting was a male thing. It didn't become feminine until much later in its existence. And I have daughters. Let me tell you something. Not only are my nails painted, my toes are too. And you know when they get painted? Whenever the fuck my daughters say, "Can I paint your nails? Can we practice our nail painting? Will you paint our nails with us?"
I'm going to tell you, I have banned the girls from painting mine because the last time they did, they used glitter paint. And that shit don't come off no matter. You basically got to wash your feet off.
Yep.
I was like, nope.
Yeah, Danica likes doing my makeup.
I forgot I had the glitter, and I'm at Experience Gym with little glitter toenails out. You know what I mean? Like, nope, not doing that no more. You broke my trust.
It took a minute for me to not be self-conscious about that, right? Like letting the girls paint my nails and being in public with it. And I'd always make excuses like, "Oh, my daughters did it. Oh, my daughters did it." Right. And then eventually I thought, you know what? Even if that's the truth, because it is, fuck that. Right. I don't care. My nails are painted. Does that make me less of a human being or a man? Like, and if it does, show me. Show me. Right.
Go in the back.
Right. Let's handle this in the back room privately, one-on-one with a little bit of, massage oil and privacy.
A little too far. I ain't never said with some baby oil. I ain't never said no shit like that.
Just saying. I said massage oil, not baby oil. I see where your mind went. Prison.
What's the difference?
Massage oil smells better. And some of it tastes better depending on what kind you buy.
Shit. I don't care what. Put some perfume in it. No.
Right.
Anyway, we just went down this rabbit hole.
Right.
So now, as we start getting ready to wrap this up, man, I think there's a couple we need to say. if you're a man in recovery, I think a part of your step work has to take into account the damage we've done to the people that love us, that have been there for us through all the shit we've been through and all the shit we put them through. We need to make amends. We need to acknowledge that more than likely we had unreasonable expectations of our people. Like, I remember, dude, one day my sister sent me a $5 money order when I was in Menard after that riot. She sent me a $5 money order. What do you think my opinion was? Like,
The fuck?
$5? Fuck, right? And I even wrote her a letter like, what's wrong with you? Now, when I
That's all she had.
When I got paroled and I went to her house, that's all she had. My sister was living in serious, dire poverty, man. Like it, and then I realized like what an asshole I was. Or when you don't get your visit, or you don't get your mail, or you don't get your East Bay $75 shoes, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, you don't love me. You're not. Well, look, man. You know, I'll be honest with you. You put yourself in there.
Yeah.
Now you're trying to burden the people who are taking care of all your responsibilities with extra and demands, and then trying to guilt trip them into doing more and being more, and basically taking advantage of all the people.
Yeah.
You know, and have the, and then we get out and you don't have a house, you don't have a car, but all of a sudden it's my bitch, my ride, my spot. That was something somebody prepared for you while you were gone all those years, you know, and then you just feel entitled. And then these women are like, yes, here for you. And all they want is appreciation, you know, recognition.
Yeah.
They want mutual energy given back. And they don't ask for nothing, man. They don't ask for nothing but love, respect, honesty, vulnerability. Yeah, what is Jim Bob saying? Yeah, of course, you know, but it helps when somebody can acknowledge their wrongs.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we're going to ask and want forgiveness, we have to be willing to model the behaviors, modify our behaviors, and demonstrate the insight that we have, you know, like apologizing.
Yeah.
And saying,
that was my breakthrough with Junior and his mother and his father, Craig, right? His stepdad, Craig. Like when I openly told him from day one, listen, you didn't do anything wrong. Like, you guys did everything right. Like, this is my fault. And then when Junior, you know, didn't talk to me, and, you know, he had thought something about my incarceration and me abandoning them, and he didn't know the full story. When he found out the full story, he came to me and he was like, well, why didn't you tell me this? And I was like, that wasn't my place. I took responsibility for my portion, right? That person took responsibility when you asked them, but prior to that, it just wasn't a conversation. Like, that is key. Like, telling people, I'm sorry, this was what I did wrong. This is my fault. I accept that. Whatever the consequences may be, like, that's where they fall. I can't tell you how to judge, right? So.
yeah.
You said it, Jimbo. Jimbo.
You're human if you don't, but you're not being a very good one.
Right.
Right. Like, a lot of times it takes a lot for us to get to a point where we can acknowledge, you know, like Violetta was like, Sammy, I never want you to get out. I love you, but I never want you to get out. Because I look back on the shit I used to say to her, and I'd be like, you're the one who's stupid. You're the one who's asleep. You don't know how ugly the world is. Like, you're the one who's soft. You're the one who's going to be a prey. You're going to be prey out there, right? Like, you know, you're doing I said the dumbest shit to her. In actuality, all I want to do today is be more like her.
Yeah.
You know, like, you realize, you know, and I've told her that, and I think she's deeply grateful for what we've been able to accomplish, you know, and be able to say, like, hey, I'm sorry, you know, I was wrong when I said all that. I see it now.
I used to tell people, hey, here's some, and fucking one of the guys that I used to talk to and was young with in the joint, I used to tell people in prison, you're either a shark or a blowfish, right? You either eat people, you pretend to eat people. Be a shark, right? Be a shark. There ain't no pretending here, right? Like, you're going to get ate at some point. You can puff up, you can pretend, you can play, but eventually you get ate. And in reality, like, I don't even want to be a blowfish. Right? Like, I want to be a goldfish. I want to swim. I want to eat shit. I want to play. You know, I want to be a kid. And I have been. Like, dude, I have spent most of my time free after dealing with the early stuff, trying to just do the things that I have to, that I love doing, right? Like the things that make me happy, the things that make me smile. Like, it is what it is. Like, I'm gonna be a kid, and I don't care what anybody thinks of me. Damn it.
Well, it's good to be a kid, you know. I know I can be a kid at heart out here, man. You know, I'm playing like I wanted to play when I was younger, you know, and I'm doing the things that I wanted to do that when I was younger. And
dude, it's great watching you when you get excited about something like most people would consider lame, because you're like geek and you're innocent about it because you never experienced it, just like me, right? So you'll be telling me about something, I'll be like, man, damn, why am I not living in Missouri and riding four-wheelers and playing with box turtles? He gets to go fishing in his own goddamn pond, and I'm here scrapping metal with kids who pee on my leg and fucking like torture me.
Me and I were in the pool yesterday, just seeing who could hold their breath the longest. You know?
Who won, Samaya?
Yeah. And then she said, "Oh, I thought we were racing. I'm trying to survive here. That's what
I'm drowning." Right?
She said, "I thought we were racing."
Gangster kid, man. I love that kid.
Well, listen, everyone. Jim Bob, thanks for all your feedback, man. It's good to see you, hear from you, man. Me and Monte are gonna go back to the Fat Club and put our heads together, figure out how to get even for that comment.
Yeah, no shit.
I think we need a part 2 to this because we really didn't get to the deep analysis of what we need to be like on the other side. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Everyone, thank you for being here. Share. Gonna let Monte just hack up his lungs right on the live.
I only got one left. All right, you guys. Again, I apologize for being sick this week. I love you guys. Thank you for everything. You know where we'll be at. We'll be here next week, Saturday morning between 9:30 and 10. Friday night, as long as smoke another one, Jim. God damn it, Jim.
He's gonna.
Yeah, right. As soon as we get off here, Friday night, I got a guest coming in. You might know her, Elaine De La Cruz. We're going to talk about some local situations going on here and how we can improve our living conditions together. That'll be OCOR, Our Community, Our Responsibility, Racine. Don't forget to like and share. It's really important. It helps us out greatly, and we appreciate it. So I love you guys. For me and Sammy, we'll see you guys next week.
That is my closing song from my harmonica. I'm fully embracing country life. I'm a country boy from the city. Yes,
where's that, bro?
I got it. It's hot. It's hot right now.
Next week.
All right,
boots too.
We'll see you soon. I got boots. I got some boots ready.
All right, you guys.
I don't have the square toe boots. That's you. That's for you though.
Right.